Shalom Aleichem. This segment is brought to you by Rabbi Yehuda Shane, the administrator of Kashrus Anytime, which is a division of the Kosher Consumers Union, a 501c3 organization. We're going to address, among other things, we'll address today the issue of potatoes. It's known potatoes. There is a controversy what bracha you make on it. Others say shahakal, others say hadama. Some of them are pretty much hadama, but there's others that come with these things basically for many, many different reasons. A potato kugel story we'll leave for the end, basically. Others don't want to eat the potatoes because it's from the nightshade family, which causes it may be the leaves may be toxic. There may be other things over there. Then we have the issue of bishul akam by potatoes. It's not oil shulchan malachim. The Aruch HaShulchan says that it's not davar choshev and it's not oil shulchan malachim. There wouldn't be bishul akam. The Chachmas Adam, on the other hand, says that it is oil shulchan malachim, even though they basically were in about the same period of time, more or less. And it's questionable of what it is. Then we have the question of instant mashed potatoes, which is a very interesting issue of bishul akam. The potato flakes are produced. The potatoes are peeled by steam injection. The steam goes into a very, very large container, basically 2-3 stories high, and that basically so-called pops the peels off, and then it gets washed. The peels are removed from it. Then the potatoes get cooked. And the question is with bishul akam. So what others want to taina, or you and others taina, that it's cooked in steam. And they feel that steam is like Asham, and Asham there was no Xeris Chazal of bishul akam, and they say steam is the same thing as that. But when I observed in certain potato plants how the potatoes are cooked for instant potatoes, it's true that the heat comes originally from steam, but then as it hits the potatoes and everything, and it turns into condensate, which condensate is really water, which can usually go back to the boiler and be reused again, and others will use condensate, the water of condensate, to use for kashering and everything. It's regular water, and the potatoes really are sitting in the bath of condensate, and that's the way it's getting cooked. So I don't think that anybody could really call that it's being cooked with steam, even live steam, because it condensates on the potatoes, and the potatoes are laying in a bath of condensate water, and that's the way it's getting cooked. The outside, maybe the beginning got cooked with some live steam, but the rest of it is really being cooked with that. So maybe that's not going to be a way of getting around when they want to get around this issue of bishul akam for potato flakes. Okay, so after the potatoes are cooked, they're mashed, and they're mixed with an emulsifier. Sometimes they're mixed with milk, etc. And then they get put onto large heated steel drums in a very, very fine layer. And as the drum turns and revolves, it dries the potato into a thin layer. It's peeled off with a thin knife that goes along this drum. Once it comes off like that, it basically gets shredded and it becomes instant potatoes. And in order to eat it, they used to, years ago, process it by re-cooking the instant potatoes with water. So there's an Afkas Roichel, in Simon Kuf Yud Gimel, in Beis Yosef, that he says anything that was cooked by akum and then put into like dried out, that now it's not edible unless it gets cooked by Yisrael again. It was mevatel the bishul akam of the goy, and now the fact that the yid is cooking it again, even though originally when it was a potato it was aser, but it goes back to a heter once it becomes a powder, you have to recook it. But the thing is that now the way they formulated it, you could reconstitute it with cold water. So if you reconstitute with cold water, the heter of Avkes doesn't exist. So I brought this up to Rabbi Belsky, and he says, well, let's look at it that any powdered thing or dehydrated product is not oil shulchan malachim. So basically, it's not oil shulchan malachim. So what's the difference you cook it with that? So I told him that Latkes disagrees with him. He says, where? So I said, what does Latkes have to come with this big chiddush of that because it has to be cooked again by Yisrael, so it was mevatel the thing of the guy. He could have said very simple, it's not all shulchan malachim. Evidently, it is all shulchan malachim, especially if the reconstituted, etc. Now, if the drying out process is mevatel the bishlakim of the guy, what happens now if you had taka that was done by Bishul Yisrael with a mashgiach? Now it gets dried out. When you reconstitute it, if you're going to reconstitute, let's say with hot water, do you need a yid to do it, or could a guy do it? Because it was mavatal. The thing of the guy is it now mavatal again of the yid, and now it's an uncooked product. And when the guy is going to cook it now, it becomes again a cooked product which the guy made. So even though on the can and on the bag it says Bishul Yisrael, but could be that it's not Bishul Yisrael because the dehydration process was mavatal that thing. So basically, discuss it with your Rav. But if they could reconstitute with cold water, then it was mavatal what he did over there. Iri most probably wouldn't make a difference because Iri is convashal into the cleat, but you can't call that a full cooking. Then the question turns out to be potato chips. Is it the hayos that the min of potato is there is bishlakim, so in any form you make it, even let's say potato chips is not oil shulchan malachim, even though it's made from potatoes that the min is oil shulchan malachim, will be considered this that it's oil shulchan malachim, and because of the min, and you would require bishul yisrael by potato chips as well. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky in his Emes Yaakov, he says that it's requires bishul yisrael. The Moshe Feinstein has in his Shuvah also. Rav Shmuel Vozenal also held that it requires bishul yisrael. They said that potato chips really would require bishul yisrael. Going back on the potato flakes, you must have a proper hashgacha there besides the fact of the bishul yisrael part. You've got to be aware of the emulsifiers and other things that they may add to the potatoes that makes potato flakes can be serious shallows of bishul yisrael. And don't forget, there's also anti-foam they put in when they're cooking the potatoes that shouldn't foam up, etc. So those things also have to be addressed, which we skipped before. Then the question is by potato chips. They also have a tumbler that puts on all different kind of seasoning after it comes out of there, which is basically the seasoning is put on hot, so the tumbler would have to be kosher as well if you're going to do a bishul yisrael potato chip production. Then the question is, do you have to change the oil for the bishul yisrael? Is it the blias that are in the oil from bishul akum? Is that sufficient or not? So the question is, when you do it in one of these companies, the halacha is that if you had the bishul yisrael was done Ramah and you want to do now Beis Yosef, do you have to change the oil? So the general opinion of the place is that you don't have to change it. But if a hashgacha agency, as the OU, is relying on the fact that if it's done in a company, they're using that as a heter, that you don't need any bishul yisrael on that, so now the oil really is not even bishul yisrael ramah, but basically they hold that thing is mutter, you have to change the oil or not, etc. There was who was it? It was Tartik Minchas Chinuch made a production by Lay's potato chips, and they put on some things that everything is bishul yisrael, etc. Which I questioned them if they kashed. They said yes, they kashed. I said, how do you kash the big tumbler? They said with a big torch, which I know Lay's wouldn't let them use a big torch, and even if you use a big torch, the angle that the tumbler is in, the amount of heat that will come back in your face when you're using a regular full acetylene torch to kasher it, basically, you wouldn't be able to stand from the heat. So how they kasher it, I don't know. But then my other question to him was that the criteria of Lay's is that I asked him if there's any shilos of kasher, so it's only that they kasher because of bishlakim. He says only because of bishlakim. The oils is mut, everything is fine over there. It's an OU company and they had no problems, but just because of bishlakim, he felt that he wants to kasher it. So I told him, but Lay's requires you to use 20% of reused oil that they had before. So shishim is 1.6, and if you're using 20% of the previous oil, which was bishul akum oil, what did you help with your whole kashering, the tumble and the oil and everything else? You spent that time, had the downtime of the equipment and everything else like it, but you're back to square one, because if you have 20% that's reused oil, what did you have gained by it? I told him you might be better off doing it differently. The Lay's shuts down every 2 weeks to do a full cleanup. So what you should have, your mashgiach should go down after they finish the cleanup, start up the equipment at that time, and then any time in the middle that you want to have, so at least you know that everything basically is basically Yisrael from what you started up with clean equipment. And anytime you decide in the middle of the 2 weeks, so you'll have them close it down again and then start it up again. And you could have definitely a much better Bishul Hakum, or Bishul Yisrael, than what you have now with using the 20% of the oil. This way you have all the oil they have over there was. I said, but check through the facts with them of what it is. But basically, it'll be considerably cheaper for your company, whoever is doing it, because there's no downtime, there's no cashing time, there's nothing. You're just flipping up the switch of the boiler. There's a company located in Lakewood, Golden. It's called also, the main company name is called Old Fashioned Kitchen. They make a lot of potato latkes, so that's one of their big things called potato pancakes. So there's a mashgiach that goes down there basically for the last 45 years. He goes down every day to turn on the equipment. So it's always basically Bishul Yisrael Ramah. All of the potato pancakes from them is Bishul Yisrael Ramah. It's also Yashan, and the sweet potato one is acceptable. The regular potato pancake one is acceptable. And Trader Joe's makes the potato latkes there also, so those also would be basically Bishul Yisrael, and they would be acceptable. Using pre-peeled potatoes for Pesach might be an issue, because as a preservative they'll put on their citric acid or other things they have in it, and sometimes when they peel it they may have anti-foam in it. So that also has to be with a proper hashgacha, pre-peeled potatoes, even though you think it's maybe not anything on it. Pre-peeled carrots, the small baby carrots pre-peeled, sometimes the preservative they put onto it is dairy, so you have to make sure that it's under proper hashgacha and there's no DOD or anything else like that. A number of years ago, there was somebody wanted to sell frozen pizza from a person wanted to sell frozen pizza to the ShopRites over here in the New Jersey area, that the ShopRites belong to an Arab family, the Sakers. He tried getting an appointment with the one that takes care of freezer space over there, and he just couldn't get an appointment. He tried a few different methods, couldn't do anything. So he called me up and he asked me, could you maybe get me an appointment? I said, I'll try. I said, I don't know the person personally, but I know some people there. I called up to make the appointment. I called this guy, Al, and he says, okay. He said, I'll give you an appointment, Rabbi Shane. It's going to be for Friday, 12 o'clock. I felt very hurt by that, because basically, we're from a people. These other people are coming from Borough Park. It's true, it wasn't in the winter, but basically, you got to get back to work. But that's what it is. So I called up the people. I said, be there at 11:45. The thing will be at 12 o'clock, the meeting. Fine. I called up the mashgiach that took care of the ShopRite, the kosher experience department, etc., Rabbi Moshe Chomsky. And I asked him, what kind of person is this Al? So he says he's a Shano Pirish. He learned in Torah years ago, but he went off to Derech, and that's the kind of person he is. I said, is anybody else working in the ShopRite office that's was from or from the people there? He says, two other girls that were originally Beis Yaakov girls that are also Shano Pirish. I said, okay. I call up this person that wants to bring in the pizza over there, and I tell him that I'd like him to bring his wife also. So the wife gets onto the telephone. She says, Rabbi Shane, I do prepare for people meals for Shabbos, and it's hard for me to leave my house. So I said, your daughters are old enough. They've been working with you for all these years. They'll take it over, but it's, I think, important for you to come to this meeting. Okay, they came there 11:45. I decided that I'm going to bake a fresh small potato kugel, and I'm going to get there 5 to 12, which I did. Had in a box, and I opened up the box. I had knives, forks, plates, everything was in there. Kugel was cut up. It sent a beautiful Erev Shabbos aroma in the place, and the girls asked Rabbi Chomsky, do I smell potato kugel? And He says, yes. They said, could I have a piece? And basically, they got a piece, and then we sat down at the meeting and gave Al a piece of the potato kugel, and everybody ate, and everybody went. And after about 10, 12 minutes, Al says, look, Rabbi Shane, I know that these people are here from New York. They have to get back to there. They're in. All the little details and everything else like it, I'll work out with you, with them, whatever else it is, but, let them get back, but basically it's in. And my rationale was like this. Everybody years ago grew up on Friday afternoon on potato kugel. And I knew that that's going to bring him back some memories from the days that he remembers when he was in Turvadas and a younger boy in his family that grew up with potato kugel. And it's going to have an effect on him, a positive effect, that he'll want to deal with another from a Yid in a different life, because it's an undead in the Pintel Yid with him. And evidently it worked, and he says, you're in. When Monday, when the Italian manager of the place, Carl Montanaro, he asked him, he says, Al, how nobody else could get in with you, and and Rabbi Shane with that just splits just because of a piece of potato kugel. He says, well, Rabbi Shane is very much on the level. Whatever he tells me, anybody he brings in is in, because nothing is under the table. He's very straightforward, and everything is fine. Lo and behold, goes by approximately a year on a Thursday. This fellow in his upper 50s, Al, had a massive heart attack in the office, and they called the local ambulance squad. By the time they came, it was too late. His Levi was at 12 o'clock Friday over here in Lakewood. That's where they made a Levi. In the stretch limo was the Seika brothers, the owners of ShopRite, the Arabs, the Arab family, and Carl Montanaro, and the other ones, the big cheeses were all there. And Carl Montanaro, he says, what Al wouldn't do now for another piece of potato kugel from Rabbi Shane. You saw how it got into them all that this was the potato kugel. But basically, a little bit after that, we started making over here a number of potato kugels on Friday. We give out to neighbors, to mishpacha, to others, and this and that. And Baruch Hashem, you try to keep up this tradition. Al Titish Torah Simachas, we grew up in potato kugel, have Friday out of Shabbos potato kugel. It definitely has an effect. And the minhagim that we have in Kol Yisrael, people shouldn't change. Keep up with the minhagim, keep up with these things. Al Titish Torah Simachas, and definitely will help keeping everybody together. It'll bring them back the memories and everything else like it. And Kol Tov will continue at another time.